Apex over the past month has had many speculations that the game is dying, and this comes from the decline in viewership on Twitch as well as a decline in the overall popularity of the game. And with these rumors that the game is dying, of course, comes plenty of clickbait videos and videos in general saying that, hey, the game is going to end. And I'm here to tell you that it is not at all the case. The game is not dying. And in fact, Respawn just released an update to Apex Legends that gave me great insight into the company's values, but also the future of Apex Legends. And based on the update, I got to say the future of Apex looks bright. So let's go ahead and talk about Apex's new future. But first, I want to discuss a couple of key points from Respawn's update letter. And there's going to be 4 points that I want to bring up that you can really get from that article itself. So number one, Apex Legends team is very aware of the issues that currently plague the scene. Now, that includes slow servers, audio issues, hit registration errors, as well as cheaters. Number two, Apex Legends team realizes they need to be more transparent about the future of Apex Legends, as well as the issues that are plaguing and them fixing it. So they know that they need to kind of address the community just a little bit more and be more open. Number three, the Apex Legends team is its own entity. Now, a lot of people were kind of confused. Were they, focusing more on Star Wars, Jedi: The Fallen Order, or were they focusing more on Titanfall? Well, Apex Legends is in fact its own separate entity. And also Respawn, this is very interesting and huge. Respawn is no longer going to focus on the future of Titanfall. They put those plans aside to put all their energy on Apex Legends. Now, that is massive, and we'll discuss that in just a little bit. And number four, the Apex team's goals has never been to patch or update content on a weekly basis. They're going to focus more on quality versus quantity. Their goal is to provide large, meaningful changes to the game that have lasting impact versus the speed of release or novelty of the content released. But let's break down some of these points because these points are huge and this update was massive for Apex. Now, the number one, right, they're focusing on fixing the changes in game. They've been very open about this. It's very clear, it's very public that these issues exist. And the fact that they were, they came out openly, not only stating the issues that hey, we see what's going on, but also they gave some fixes that they're going to be implementing potentially and going about fixing them. And they even gave some of the insight into the root causes of some of the issue. For example, the slow servers doesn't have to do with the servers not being able to handle the traffic, which is what a lot of people were thinking. It comes down to a certain process during like certain servers, certain lobbies are being overloaded. So basically, they just kind of need to, disseminate that workload effectively. But they got into detail in terms of that update. But that's not the biggest thing, right? Updates, of course, are going to discuss what needs to be fixed technically. But number two, being transparent. Okay, being transparent is a huge deal, and this is something that we lack from other games, aka Epic Games, right? They're not as transparent as we would like them to be. That's why we see a lot of updates that kind of blindside the community, whether that be planes being introduced randomly, the Infinity Sword coming just a day before one of the events. But these changes do happen. But with Apex Legends, and Respawn specifically focusing on being more transparent with the community and the player base, this is massive. And I will have to say, right, it's going to provide a more copacetic unity within the community, and whether it be from Respawn to the gamers. Number three, though, is really big, right? This point is huge for a number of reasons, specifically Apex Legends being its own entity. Now, if you guys didn't know, Apex was never intended to be the main staple for Respawn games. It was always meant to be other games, whether it be Star Wars or, in fact, Titanfall. Titanfall was like the baby when it comes to Respawn. And Apex Legends was created by a small team, and it was never intended to be as big as it was. Would they have liked that? Sure, but they never thought it would be a massive BR. I think they just decided to release it. It was their first BR they were making from this team anyways, and they kind of expected it to just be whatever. Okay, it'll have some success, but it's going to highlight Respawn and push players more towards from the BR scene over towards Titanfall. But Of course, with the success and over 50 million players and growing playing this game, or at least registered users, now all of a sudden Respawn and Epic, or Respawn has had to kind of, change up their plan, shuffle the papers, if you will, and develop or put more people towards the team of Apex Legends. And this is massive for them, putting aside the plans to develop Titanfall and now to just focus 100% on Apex Legends means they care about the game's growth. And this is massive, not only from a public perspective, right? Playing publicly, you're going to see a lot more additions coming to the game, a lot more creativity, but you're also going to see potentially the esports scene, when they're ready for it, to grow tremendously. And with them already being transparent, as I said in number 2, and also focusing so much on Apex Legends, this game has a great future. And even though we've seen a lull in time so far, I do believe, given the fact that they're focusing so much time on it, it is in fact going to increase the popularity of this game. But Respawn realizes they have something special, and that's why they're allocating more team members over towards this game and putting projects that they were working on before off to the side to focus on the baby that they currently have, which is Apex Legends. Now, number 4, I'm going to talk a little bit about this one because this is big. And this one is huge for me, and it's both positive and negative as well. So number 4, right, they're going to be focusing on specifically the quality of the content versus the quantity of the content released. Now, when Fortnite came out, right, from Epic Games, they kind of spoiled us in a way. And the reason why I say that is we are now used to weekly updates. We're used to skins, new skins being released every couple of days, every day, whatever. We're used to a plethora of things being thrown our way. Now, this has never been done, at least to the extent that Epic Games has done it, from any game, whether it be BR or any game in general. The amount of updates and new things that is added to Fortnite is massive. And if you've also paid attention as well to the workload, there was an article released, and basically they were saying, people are not required to work overtime, but they're required to work overtime over at Epic Games. And because of this, these workers are putting in 70 to 100 hour work weeks. Now, Respawn doesn't want to do this to the Apex Legends team. They're very big on having a very copacetic unity within the team members, and they want their members to be happy. If your members and your workload or your workers are happy, then therefore you're going to provide better content. I'm a huge believer in that, anywhere from the lowest level of a business, whether it be a restaurant, or at the highest, whether it be Respawn, the Apex Legends team. Your workers are happy, you have better content. Focusing more on the quality of content versus the quantity allows for a better game. And the fact that Respawn realizes this is massive. Now, also too, whenever you talk about the quality of the updates, one thing they also mentioned too is they want their content to be more consistent. It will change from season to season with the Battle Pass, and they do want to impact the meta from season to season, and the map will change, but it's not going to be as drastic as we see with other BR titles such as Fortnite, right, where we have the map literally changing, map elements changing, the World Cup's going over 3 seasons. But with Apex Legends, we're going to see a more consistent map with a more consistent meta and strategy that isn't going to be changing literally week from week. In terms of esports, this is massive. But in terms of the casual side, it could still become pretty stagnant if we're not seeing massive updates that we become spoiled with Fortnite. Not having those updates constantly being thrown at us is one of the reasons why maybe Apex won't become as popular as it should be. And that's one of the things the streamers have been talking about. They want more from Apex Legends. But I, for one, I'm a huge fan of consistency, and that's something I've wanted in Fortnite. And if Apex brings that consistency, we're going to see a better competitive scene and much more teams getting involved. And I think overall, that is a beautiful thing. The esports side of me absolutely loves that. So what do I feel about Apex's new future? I'm hugely positive Apex is moving in the right direction. Given the update letter that they just released, I gotta say, there was a plethora of information that was hugely positive for growing the scene. Being more transparent, that's amazing. Something that we've been lacking in other BR titles, as well as coming through and saying we want to focus on the quality of content versus the quantity of content. That is massive for the game growing, not only on the casual sector, but also in the competitive sector as well. I gotta say, Respawn is doing the right things, putting all their efforts into this game versus other titles such as Titanfall. This is their baby, and Apex has a bright future. For the people saying the game is dying just simply because they look at the numbers or they see an article or they see a Twitch streamer randomly pop off saying this game sucks, they don't know what they're talking about. Just stay tuned, because I'm telling you, this game has a bright future ahead of itself, and it may take a little bit, but overall it's going to grow. Guys, Apex wasn't expected to be as big as it is today. And yeah, there are going to be some growing pains as we're seeing now, but that doesn't reflect the entire future of what Apex is. Think about it. The game's only been out like, what, 3 or 4 months? And now we're already saying the game is dying and saying that it's a dead game? No, not at all. The game is still going to grow. Think about Fortnite. How long did it take for that game to really take off? It took a little bit, right? But now with Apex Legends, yeah, they're growing. And then we see a little lull, maybe a little decrease, but that doesn't mean that the game won't be back on top eventually. They don't want to compete with Fortnite. That was never their intention, to compete with Fortnite. They want to be their own entity and focus on what they know best, and that is Apex Legends. And that's what they're going to continue to do. But I definitely feel that the future is strong and the future will be bright for Apex Legends.